Okay.
Wondering where everybody is over there.
Yeah, it's probably like, we probably should put a sign on the door over there. Come to think of it.
It's 4 o'clock. I'd like to call the work session of the Isabel County Board of Commissioners to order. Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please.
Commissioner Engler,
Here.
Commissioner Jazinski, Commissioner Horton, Commissioner Marino,
Here.
Commissioner
Here.
Commissioner Hope,
Here.
Chairman.
Thank you. Next up would be approval of agenda. We'll have general public comments. Under presentations and special reports, Middle Michigan Development Corporation President and CEO James McBride. We may have to move that. Nicole is out in the hallway trying to call Jim, see where he is. I don't see him online or here personally yet. So we're hoping he didn't go to the county building. But that's a possibility. So we may have to move his report somewhere whenever he shows up.
Make him show up at 7.
Yeah. And then we have no appointments to boards and commissions, committee reports, Finance Administration Committee,
Administration is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee,
County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Resources and Public Works Committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set.
Okay, and then Intergovernmental Affairs, Commissioner Marino, do we have any intergovernmental affairs?
No.
We have none. We have no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business under new business. We have the Michigan State Court Administrative Office memorandum regarding Juneteenth discussion. And then we'll have another opportunity for general public comment, announcements, and then adjournment. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda, Horton.
Support Joe Lazinski.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have an agenda. And next up is general public comment. Do we have anyone for general public comment? And if you're online, this is the time you would press *9 if you wish to speak. Okay, we have no one for general public comment. We've not gotten a hold of Mr. McBride yet, so we can move right into committee reports. Finance Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up, consider ratifying and placing on file the May 13th, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $459,136.49. The May 20th, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $309,872.97. The May 27th, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $253,054.85, and the adjustment list dated June 2nd, 2022. As commissioners, we all receive these by email. We have a chance to review them, make comments online, contact the chairman and chew his ear off if we choose to. But we also discussed these in committee, and now we are bringing these forward to the board for discussion. Nothing really out of the ordinary. The adjustment list dated June 2nd has pretty much common issues. I'll fall back into some of the other ones and kind of briefly go over the main ones. The May 13th invoice list. Let's see, the drain commissioner had a $219,000 issue with the drains, which is fairly common. They have high dollar amounts normally. We had a completion of the new truck scale. Commissioner Engler's all excited about that. That was for $55,000 on May 13th. So that was some of the bigger ones. And also we had some sale of tax proceeds. I believe that was in regards to some of the fallout from the Raffelli issue. So that we're going to probably see more of those. Any commissioners have any questions on the May 13th invoice? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to the May 20th invoice. And the biggest contributors to that, again, drains make up a large proponent of that. We had Mr. Preston, who's going to show that he can actually earn his money tonight. He's going to have a couple items on the agenda in the next two issues out of this committee. Some miscellaneous costs, but nothing that we have not seen before. Commissioners have any questions on the May 20th invoice list? Hearing and seeing none, I'll then move to the May 27th invoice list. And again, we have quite a bit of the drains. We have the normal monthly public defender reimbursements, and I believe our normal hats that we normally see. And we also have some sound monitoring with the wind turbines out of community development. Commissioners have any questions on this? Commissioner Jelazinski.
I don't have a question, just a comment. Once we get this study done on the sound monitoring, since we've had some inquiries from the public, it'd be nice to have community development come before us and provide us with an update on what the findings are.
Good point, Chairman. What's your thoughts on that?
I see the community development director out there shaking his head yes, or nodding his head yes.
I can
So
actually hear him say.
I think he's amenable. I
He,
think he's amenable to that.
yes,
I think that's a good idea.
very good. Any other commissioners? Hearing and seeing none, that will move forward to this evening. And like I mentioned before, there is really nothing out of the ordinary on the adjustment list. Again, just Gordon Foods because we pay on time. And that was really about it. So any commissioners have any questions on the adjustment list? Okay, hearing and seeing none, that will move forward to this evening, and that completes that item on number one.
The second item is consider accepting and placing on file the 2022 State Tax Commission Form L-4046 Taxable Valuation Report as presented. Mr. Pete Preston's out front here, ready to give us an explanation.
Good afternoon, everyone. The L-4046 is what your equalization director will sign. It's the final step as we went through, as the local units went through the March Board of Review. There we go. That's better, right? So it's of going through the assessment sort of practice for the state to do their final equalization. At the end here, what we do is pull together all the final taxable values. Now, Judy Niznak, of course, has provided this to you in budget estimates up front and what the revenue collection could be at earlier meetings. So well ahead of the game there. And so we need this accepted and placed on file. This all matches to what was previously provided. And your director, Scott Cunningham, will sign and we'll submit it to the state. We'll be done with 2021, starting on 2022. Now, our calendar is a little different.
Questions?
For sure. Thank you. Ms. Preston, you would, in regards to our Finance Administration Committee, we didn't have any forms or anything in
Correct.
front of us. I know you represent other areas, other counties, I believe, correct? Can you make any predictions on valuation reports? What for Isabella County and where you see maybe valuations going out beyond this year? Can you make any predictions or what you're seeing, or even based on prior issues?
In some places, trend lines are kept and they bounce. It depends on what happens. One of our jurisdictions that we work with is Shiawassee County that experienced a similar large development type. In their case, it was solar here turbines. So to track those separately, you need to pull those out and see what the normal trending is. But right now, here we are. We're facing the federal government looking to put its foot on the throat of residential growth right now and the hot housing market. So I wish I could. I can give you folks all kinds of graphs and show you how over the years things bounced and such. You'll see the 2007, 2008 start of a drop off and then really see it hit the skids in 2010. No, I can't. I can give you graphs. And stuff, but for me to project outward is extremely difficult. I can tell you inflation rate's going to be 5% next year. Because definitely here we are sitting at 7 or 8. And when they do the computations in October, definitely the taxable value is going to be capped at the maximum of 5%. Right. Last year it was 3.3%. So say we hit a housing crash and all the housing values went down 20%. Well, given how long people have been in their houses, you may still see a taxable value increase next year of 5%, even though residential market would be down. So that's just kind of how Michigan taxes work. And it's very difficult to always tie market to revenue collection.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelezinski. That's all I have.
Anybody else with questions? We'll move this forward then tonight to tonight's meeting.
Okay, next up, consider approving the State Tax Commission Form L-4029, the 2022 tax rate request form setting the 2022 Isabella County separate tax limitation operating rate at 6.61 mils and authorize the board chair and county clerk to sign the same. Mr. Preston, do you have anything to add on this?
Just that this is your standard form. I would suggest approving this because this is how you collect. We did not experience a Headley rollback. In large part, what that's based on is that you had the new coming on with the wind turbines. We'll have to see how things go forward, noting that personal property and industrial, you're going to now look at the depreciation and loss. Headley rollback limits you to essentially, if your assessed value goes above the rate of inflation, affecting taxable value, that your millage rolls back. So we have not experienced that in a number of years. I will tell you that the majority of our other units that we work with did experience a rollback, a slight one, but they experienced a rollback. Or Isabella County did not. The others did.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Mr. Preston? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And if I may, after your vote on this, if I can give a brief update on this, on equalization, since so much has been going on.
You can do, we're not voting, so you may go ahead right now and do
Okay,
it.
sorry.
Did you want to stay till the night meeting though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
Get to do it. I have plenty to do.
right over there. No, I'm just kidding, Jim.
There was a question regarding catching up on deeds and our issues in the office with staffing and such. We are caught up until to the latter part of May. There's still deeds that get held up and are not filed. We're working with the local unit assessors, meaning I have an email to them that says, if you see something that's a sale and you know that this person really wants to see it on their tax bill, then get a hold of us. That feedback's already coming in. Judy Niznak is preparing the summer taxes and the bills to go out. So we're in this constant state of coordination, for lack of a better word, responding to emails as quickly as possible. But I feel fairly confident. There are always return mails. As I did previous tax bills, that if there's an inordinate amount, you let me know. I will work with my office. We'll make sure we get corrected bills out. I do want to let you know that working with administration, thank you so much, Nicole. We do have a new person in our office that is going to be filling a full-time position there. She is being trained by my staff twice a week. And she'll be working with Judy and getting caught up to speed. Finding somebody in this field that automatically knows how to read legal descriptions and enter deeds is next to impossible. So we're going to have a little bit of a learning curve, but I have faith that this person we hired is going to do a good job for us. So that's all I have, unless there's any more questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, with that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee for this work session.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I think we can back up on our agenda now. I see Mr. McBride has made it. I think, Jim, we probably forgot to tell you that we're meeting out here now. I apologize for that.
Sorry
But,
about that. County building.
Thanks.
Where is everybody?
Thank you.
Okay, looks like you can see me there. So what we are passing out here is our 2021 annual report, and I'm just going to go through, hit a couple of highlights, and then see if you folks have any questions. First of all, on the inside, if you take a look, page 3, local impact, you can see in 2021, we had 184 company visits. Because it was a COVID year, some of those were online visits, but as we got closer to the end of the year, more and more of them were in person. We also had 404 company assist. Now that would mean, you know, if a company needed help with the state or needed help with job training, you know, those would be considered individual assists. So we would have often more than one per company visit. Total number of investment, and this is just the companies that we call on, was $40.1 million last year, which was quite striking. And then in terms of new hires, that was 624. Again, now this is, we do serve 2 counties. We serve Isabella and Clare counties, but a good chunk, in fact, almost half of these new hires were one company here in Isabella County. We'll get to that in a minute. In addition, you have some of the other things that I was involved in last year. I've been increasingly called upon by the state to advocate for economic development legislation that we need to be competitive here in Michigan. Governor Whitmer and MEDC have called on me multiple times to testify at the legislative level on everything from research and development tax credits to the SOAR fund, SOAR, that was necessary to secure General Motors to reinvest here in Michigan. And so that's what you see there in some of those pictures down there in the bottom when that announcement came out. You know, and I'll just say this, that even though we don't have a GM plant here immediately in the area, we do have auto parts that are made here at American Mitsuba, and we are very dependent on the auto industry still here in Michigan. And if GM had not made that commitment, where I would call it, they not only doubled or tripled down, they really quadrupled down for the future of the state of Michigan in terms of really all of their new electric vehicle batteries and everything are going to be built here in Michigan. So that was a tremendous commitment, helped make up for the Ford loss. And we think actually nets out very positively for the state. And that trickles to the entire economy, obviously, because we make a lot of parts here in this part of the state that go into those vehicles. Next 2 pages, every 3 years, we take a look at our strategic plan and try to update it and to make it more reflective and relevant to what our challenges are today. You can see our mission and our vision statement. Really, there are 3 main areas of focus: business retention and growth. And that really is the bulk of our attention, because it makes a lot of sense to keep what we have. You know, it also makes sense to try to do business attraction, but you always want to put more of an emphasis on keeping what we have and growing what we have locally. And then also increasingly in recent years, more of the community development side of things as well, making sure our downtowns are strong and healthy. We're finding with the millennial generation and Gen Z that, and I can tell you this was all 4 of my kids who are all millennials. They decided where they wanted to live first and then find a job at that location. They didn't go, the job didn't determine where they lived. They wanted to live in a certain community, certain town, and then they went out and looked for a job. That is true of that generation. And so we have to make sure that our communities are strong and healthy with the kind of stores and amenities that young people are looking for, or we are in danger of losing that generation to our area. So next 2 pages, you'll notice that we have this new logo, Michigan Centered, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Center. We're part of Region 5, which is an 8-county region. That would be Isabella, Clare, Gratiot, Gladwin, Midland Bay, Saginaw, and Aranac counties. And we are kind of the lead on Region 5 West, and Saginaw Future is the lead on Region 5 East. We get along really well, and over the past year, we really have developed a region-wide marketing effort to market this entire region to site selectors and companies that are looking to relocate or locate new facilities. And the reason you want to do that as a group is because typically nowadays, companies are looking for a labor force of at least 250,000. Well, we don't have that locally, but when you add us all together in Region 5, we do have that. And so we also have an airport, Tri-City Airport. We've got rail. We've got everything that you need. We've got a bay and a port. And so really we start to become more competitive and stronger if we look at ourselves as a regional player. So that's what this is all about. And this was really developed mostly at Middle Michigan. Katie Morrow, VP here, my vice president, did a lot of the work on these property sheets. And so we have property sheets for all available properties. And you can see that that's really well designed to look at a single sheet and know what that property is involved in and get that information out there. Take a look at next 2 pages. The new president CEO of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, Quentin Messer. He's been up here 3 times. He's going to be up here on the 21st as well. But this was in 2021. We did a quick run through of, and he asked me to introduce him to some companies in our area as well as Gratiot County and Gladwin County. So we stopped at Aircraft Precision, Bandit Industries, American Mitsuba, Advanced Battery Concepts, Sinclair, St. Cobain, and Gladwin. We also had a lunch and discussion at the Central Michigan University Research Center, CMURC, and it was great. And he came up again and spent time with us after that, and he's coming again on June 21st. I mentioned, if you take a look at page 10 and 11, some of the business attraction. These are a couple of projects that we did that fall into that attraction category. Mac LTT is based in Kent, Ohio. They purchased a stainless steel tanker production from Birch Tank. And then the plan was to move that to Kent, Ohio. We were able to talk them into locating that in the Mount Pleasant South Industrial Park. So in the DACO building. And so that has happened. And so they are now here as opposed to Kent, Ohio. So that we were very happy with that. Amazon is also now in the area. It's a last mile distribution center, but that required some quick work with Union Township from a zoning standpoint, because when the Home Depot went in there, they didn't know exactly how much land they were going to need. So they actually zoned for what is currently the Home Depot and the next property over, which had been Federal Fluid Power, is zoned that commercial as opposed to light industrial. So it was fine with Federal Fluid because they were grandfathered in. But if that were to change, you had to change zoning, which typically can take, as you guys know, several months at least. And I got the call from Amazon that they were looking at that location, but they needed a quick decision and a quick turnaround from us, and to be able to change that zoning to light industrial or distribution. And so we were able to do that. Union Township got that through in record time, and we were able to get the zoning changes, and then they chose that location. They're there now. So what typically happens at night, the big trucks come in, then they put the packages on their own vans instead of turning them over to the post office or UPS, and they can usually cut a day off. So you can actually get your Amazon package a day earlier by having that last mile distribution center controlled by Amazon. So that's just, they don't like a lot of fanfare. They typically come in, they don't have a real big sign, but you can see the sign. You just drive behind Home Depot and you can see that distribution center. They also liked it from a standpoint, they have the land there to be able to expand that, and they do plan to expand that in the future.
Great.
So a couple of attraction projects. Then I mentioned about half of the jobs that 624 that I mentioned expansion last year with one company. So that's Bandit Industries, and they have just exploded. They had told me that they really had over 100 open positions still, and we're hoping to get to 800 employees if they could find the people by the end of this year. So they have just grown and grown and grown. Between Bandit and Moorbark, I mean, you've got for the vast majority of the wood chipper business in the United States, and really it's the two manufacture more of these than any other part of the world. So it really is a thing that we have here in Isabella County that we're proud of. It's an industry that was grown here. Moorbark has been doing great, but Bandit is just growing like gangbusters, and we wanted to recognize that with this 2-page spread. We next page, a couple pages over, 14, 15, the Match on Main program. Those are for grants for $25,000. Those have gone to businesses like Mountain Town for their outdoor expansion, Pleasant City Coffee, Pure Vitality, and companies like that for their expansions and so on. $25,000 grants we've been able to leverage from the state of Michigan. That's a program that we run. Advancing Energy, the next couple of pages, that's working with Advanced Battery Concepts up in Clare, next generation batteries. And page 19, Talent and Training. We're making the final touches on the RTIG job training grant. This is something that was made available by the state of Michigan. They've asked us to do it. So on behalf of all 8 counties, including Saginaw. So we'll be running this program for job training. And it's company-based job training. And we're anticipating spending about $745,000 on this job training that would be run through Middle Michigan. And we'll be partnering with Delta College and Mid-Michigan College to train these employees. So that's a direct grant that's come to us. Next couple pages on the left there on page 20, those are some of at the end of the table there, Susan Corbin, Jonathan Smith from LEO, Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, meeting with local people. This is back when we all had to have masks on. Now Susan doesn't, because she was speaking at that particular moment. That's in our at our office, in our conference room. But it's just really was great to have a State Department come in and hold it up, listening to her, talking with us about rural economic development and what they could learn from us. And then you'll see Katie Mora was honored by META. I had just completed my year as president of META. Katie was chosen. There's about 500 members. This is META is the Michigan the Michigan Economic Developers Association. And she's VP at Middle Michigan, and she had received the Enthusiasm Award for enthusiasm for economic development. So she was chosen out of everybody there by the 500 members. So she was really honored to get that. Then we got the Tourism Awards. First time the Mount Pleasant Tourism Convention Visitors Bureau had awarded the Pineapple Award to something that was not tourism related, because of all the work we did on the grants in the Michigan survival and relief and restart programs that we did. We distributed over $6 million to local businesses through COVID in 2020 and 2021. And many of those businesses were actually tourism related. And because of those grants, we got that award this last year. So we're very happy to get that. Then just the next 22, 23, just some, these covered both counties, so, different snippets of different things that were achieved last year. The Consumers Energy did the major city gate expansion in Union Township. And then next couple pages, those are some of the quotes from some of the folks we work with. There's a quote from Chris Rowley at the Mount Pleasant CVB. And there's our team on page 25. And then if you go to the inside back, the 2021 sponsors and partners, people often wonder how we're funded, and we don't really get any money from the state. We might occasionally get a little bit of admin if we're running a grant program, but many of the grant programs we do on behalf of the state, we don't get an admin like Match on Main. We just do it because it's for the good of the area. So we're funded by the list of people that you see there, these companies and entities. So our partners, 2021 partners, represents about 70% of our funding, and the sponsors about 30%. So you see a lot more sponsors, but they tend to support us at a lower level. Sometimes $1,000 or $1,500, $2,000, and then the partners are a little bit more than that. And of course, you folks are a partner of ours. And I just wanted to emphasize that we couldn't do what we do if it weren't for that steady support from Isabella County and all of you. So we greatly appreciate all of that continued support. And then facing that page, you can see our executive directors, Jerome Schwind is chair, Isabella Bank, Marita Haddam Schiffman, who runs the Mount Pleasant and Alma and the Claire, My Michigan Health. And you see, the rest of our team there. And then also our board of directors. And, we have so happy to have Nicole on our board as well. And she's hit the ground running and has contributed greatly to our board. So that's our, just a brief run through on our annual report, and just wanted to see if any of you had any questions.
Questions?
I have a question. I know you've heard of the project of getting the train from Ann Arbor to Mount Pleasant. Is there any connection with your organization?
I haven't heard any updates on that. We're excited about that too, and it would be a great opportunity for us to have that take place. I do know that there are parts of the track that need to be upgraded. Right now, it's freight track, and it's good enough for freight, but not necessarily in some sections good enough for passenger rail. So that is one of the issues, and I know that there's interest in getting that done. I know the state does have funds available from the feds now for something like that, but I hadn't heard anything lately on that, but we've always been very supportive of that.
I heard lately about the cost, something like 150 million, and also that maybe this year they'll be testing out parts of it.
Yeah. But wouldn't that be great? I mean, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Else?
Just real quick, where in this community, where do you see as far as broadband goes and access to higher speed internet, especially in some of the rural areas? So to increase either development or B, a work from home status, is that something you're involved in, or being able to help people develop that?
Yeah. So, well, one of the things that we did do, we were able to get a $100,000 grant from the state to complete the broadband at CMURC and the Smart Zone. So that was about half done prior to that grant coming through. In terms of the roadways and so on, about half of it had broadband and the other half didn't. The areas that don't have any development didn't have it. And so we were able to get a grant from the state just a couple of years ago, and we completed it all. So it's all ready. It's water and sewer had already gone in, but now we've got, high-speed broadband by cable all through there. And that was a grant we did. Now, in terms of broader than that, we support it, but again, we would be dependent on state programs to leverage that. One of the pieces of good news is the Office of Rural Development that was recently announced by the governor, that's located at Michigan Department of Agriculture, Rural Development. And Sarah Lucas, who's a friend of mine, she's actually from Marquette. She was tapped to lead that office. She's going to be up here in the next month or so to visit with us. And she has talked to me kind of informally about being in an advisory role. So I am very excited about that opportunity, because broadband is going to be one of the major focuses of that office.
And I guess my next question is to, on your website, and this is ignorance on my part, but on your website, do you list places where small businesses or entities can go to, as far as A, contacting, obviously you probably have that, but B, what grants or other things that would be available to them?
Yeah. Well, state is still sitting on a lot of federal money that hasn't been allocated yet. And I think that I think we'll see some more of that being allocated in the budget coming up here this month. But yeah, there's money that's available. It just hasn't been allocated for something like broadband. That's one of the things that I would be in favor of seeing, is a chunk of that ARPA money be dedicated to rural areas for broadband expansion. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that'd be one source of revenue.
I think my question was more focused on just going to your website. Do you list out any agencies, small businesses to contact to seek out grants or available grants that are out there, just not specifically tied to broadband?
Yeah. When we had the COVID grants, we had a big headline at the top of our website, where to go, and that linked you to everything that you needed on COVID related grants. There's stuff that we end up administering. So we try to get as much information on there as we can. But right now, I'm not aware of any broadband related grants that are available right now, but I know that's a goal that MDARD has with this new office.
Other questions? I just have a question about that MAC LTT. Did they move into an existing building in that research park? Okay.
So DACO, as part of their nationwide realignment, had decided to close that plant and several others in Michigan and Canada, and there were a couple others in other states, and moved everything to Mexico. And so that meant, so it wasn't just us, but we were one of the plants. They were moving everything to Mexico. So once that decision was made, we had an empty building, or knew that we were going to have an empty building. But before they moved out, we had MAC LTT already primed and ready to move in. In fact, MAC LTT wanted to move in quicker than DACO was willing to move out. So that was a good problem.
Yeah,
We didn't have an empty building for any time at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And another good problem we have is, Bandit wants to hire 100 people. CMU has open positions that they're having trouble filling. We have positions here at the county. What are your thoughts on how we attract people to the area? How do we keep people that come to school here? And I know a lot of us are going to have to play a role in that, but certainly Mid-Michigan development is part of that.
Yeah. So, I would answer it this way. In the past, it wasn't really considered, in fact, still today, many of my counterparts in other parts of the state, other local EDOs, do not necessarily get involved in the community development side of things. They'll say, oh, the city does that. We just do hardcore economic development. We do business attraction and we do business retention, expansion. We don't do the community side. Well, when I came in here, I said, that's got to change. We are going to do that. And we do. And I think it's important because, as I said earlier, younger people really make the decision of where they want to live based on what's available to them. And so you've got to make sure you have vibrant downtowns. You've got to make sure that there is stuff available for young people. And so it was so important to get the city of Mount Pleasant to be redevelopment ready certified by the state, because that opened up concierge level programs and services by the state. We're working on other communities in the area to get them to that level. So that opens it up for them. But Mount Pleasant was critical to get that done, and we did. And so that's why we can do so much with Match on Main. We have been getting hit after hit after hit on that, with being able to get significant dollars to local businesses to do expansions. Katie has been tapped by the MEDC. Katie's now on their advisory team for community development. So that's pretty significant. We're a little local operation here.
Yep.
And there's only 2 economic development organizations on this advisory team, us and then one other one I'm not going to name. But so we, yeah, it was a pretty significant thing. She got tapped for that, but they recognized her passion for community development. And I've been totally supportive of that because we have to do that if we're going to keep our young people here. Now and as far as I'm concerned, we've just scratched the surface. We have a lot of work to do in that area, but we're at least, I think we're trying to make the moves in the right direction to keep our young people here.
Okay, yep. Any other questions? Jim, I appreciate you coming. It's always good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you guys. All right. Sorry it was late. I just,
That's okay.
oh no. So, thank you.
Maybe we'll be back there.
Next time, maybe we'll let you know where
Okay.
we're meeting.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Okay, and with that, we can move back to committee reports, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Chairman Hope. First item, consider approving the addendum to the agreement for the attorney services for indigent individuals managed assigned counsel contract effective October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022 to add Claire Keisel, Hunter Hill, Bruce Moss as assigned counsel and authorized board chair to sign the same. We have Public Defender Thomas Hausman to explain the changes to the contract for counsel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, this is essentially just amending the contract that we presently have for this fiscal year to add 3 additional attorneys onto that contract. You know, we're losing our administrator for the contract here. She's going to work as the front of the court referee at the courthouse. So she's leaving at the end of the summer. We lost an attorney to some medical issues within the past year. We lost another attorney who went back to her old firm. So we need people on the contract. And I know we're not in a unique situation by any means. I know that across the state, we're kind of at the tipping point before there is an attorney shortage. And I know it's not just public defenders, it's prosecutors, it's everything. And so knowing that we're going to be losing another individual, I think is an important time to try and re-up those numbers. Claire is the former chief assistant within our office. So she has plenty of experience. Bruce Moss has been an attorney for well over 25 years. And Hunter was most recently in our prosecutor's office, and the firm that he's working for now is also on the Midland County Public Defender contract. So it's people that have experience, that know our court system, local people that are interested in taking that additional 25% that our office doesn't handle.
I know there are no increases in funding in the contract with this change.
No increases in funding whatsoever.
Like always, MIDC will be helping us footing the bill here. Are there any questions, commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move that forward to tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 2, consider approving the agreement with Rave Mobile Safety with the license term effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $88,785 and authorized board chair to sign. And we have Director of 911 Emergency Management, Mark Griffiths, here to present this for.
Good afternoon, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity. This is our RAVE panic button school proposal. It's a 3-year pilot study that's been generously funded by the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. What we're hoping to do is deploy this within the K-12 school environment for all the schools within Isabella County to their staff, and have a more connected, more informed group of people whenever we have any type of an emergency that comes to our area. This will be an app that will go on the phone. It will help them to alert us when they need 911, police, fire, EMS, or if they have an active assailant situation. And subsequent to the Criminal Justice Committee meeting, this contract was reviewed, and there was no legal objection given by our legal counsel for the county. Is the only update I have for that since the staff report. So in 3 years, I hope to come back and tell you that this was a wonderful success.
Are there any questions for the director?
I just have a couple things. Thank you, Mark, for bringing this in front of the board. I mean, anything to deal with school systems in today's world, as we're evolving from the Uvalde tragedy several weeks ago. I had a chance last week to attend the emergency management meeting and actually kind of got an overview of what's to be expected. Chairman Hopi, by the way, you were thrown under a train and I had to assume your position. Literally thrown under that was Mr. Griffin. Soon Tobin was thrown under the train. Oh, great. And so it was an eye-opening experience, because for me, looking at what could possibly happen in an emergency situation in this community and the planning involved is just amazing. And the amount of effort that would go into it. I know we had the flood several years ago, and that was quite eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people. So again, thank you for that. And again, I would be fully supportive of something like this. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I come from a business world that we had panic buttons in a couple of locations. And, you know, and I think, without revealing anything, I think the county has at least several that I'm aware of. Now, as far as something like this goes, do you have testing that goes on, or how is it tested, or anything like that?
Yes, we'll have testing with the individuals that have it, give them an opportunity to actually launch the program and reach back to 911, check 911, that it brings up their facility, their location as it comes up. We'll probably incorporate it right into their regular drills that they do throughout their school year.
And like if any program, I'm assuming that's going to come with a training, because it's only as good as the people who are aware of it and use it. So
correct.
Assuming that comes
Absolutely.
with it.
Yeah, along with the assistance of the sheriff, we'll be implementing this within our school systems and on their development days that they have. And like I said, the schools do a great job of doing exercising for other emergencies. So we'll take every opportunity to practice.
Thank you.
Okay.
I actually,
Administrator Frost? Yes.
I just wanted to ask Director Griffiths if you would mention how this was funded.
I was definitely going to mention that as well.
Yeah,
This many times.
generously by the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe to fund another school safety project for the community that may not know it, because we weren't on Zoom back in the beginning. Tribe also funded an emergency radio system for our community that's still in existence today, that we use and we test monthly with the assistance of the sheriff and the schools to do stuff. So another project that is a great protective measure for our community, generously funded again by the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, and look forward to reporting out to them too as well. Hopefully this will be a great success and continued on like our other projects.
Commissioner Jelizinski?
Kind of a live question. We went from Code Red to the RAVE system, and I know it required that the citizens had to actively re-register for that program. Are you finding you had a good response to that? Are the news numbers on people that are subscribing to that the same as Code Red, or?
Well, I will tell you, I always want more people. So anyone who's hearing this that's not on there, please send them. We did actually just printed up some more business cards to hand out at events. So I will tell you that there's never enough people on it. We did have a transition group that came with our big media campaign, and we get a lot more each year at the fairs. But if anyone's interested in a presentation or more information or a quick tutorial on how to sign up, by all means, please contact us. Don't call 911, call our 773-1000 number, and we'll be happy to walk them through it. But I don't have the immediate stat on this right now, but we are making progress.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Griffiths. Any other questions? All right, we'll move this on to tonight's meeting. The third item, consider approving the agreement between the Isabella County Sheriff's Office and Village of Lake Isabella for Marine Patrol Services effective June 1st, 2022 through September 6th, 2022.
I'm going to circle back just real quick on what Mark was talking about, or Director Griffiths. One of the things that was asking was asking the criminal justice meeting was, kind of some school updates and stuff. And this is great timing for this panic button, and it's going to work very well. But we've been working diligently on what's called Rescue Task Force and Asher and some different things. And all that means is we are putting together a pre-plan from every one of the school buildings in the community and the county. It is a joint effort from every law enforcement and MMR and everybody that's the community players. So we'll have a immediate pre-plan of every building, site plan, and some things that we can use in the event of an emergency. On the tail part of that, and we hope to have this in place by the fall, we will do what's called Rescue Task Force, which is where we work with fire and EMS, and we go into the buildings and do drills, and we're removing people who may be injured or hurt, getting them out as fast as we can to get them treated and so forth. We also have a countywide, we're working on right now, countywide active violent incident training that we'll be putting on here shortly, sometime towards the later part of the summer. And every law enforcement officer will be mixed with other agencies, and we'll do a huge drill. We've done that in the past, but so it is a constant constant cycle to keep this stuff up. But this panic button will come in perfect for all the things we're doing at the school before school starts next year. And we do have a school safety alliance where all the superintendents, police chiefs, fire chiefs are invited. Community mental health is a huge group. We meet once a month during the school year to kind of stay on track and talk about all these things. And we work with the RASCD. Actually, we have a joint meeting we do with them once a year. So there's a ton that goes on in our communities for schools. So I just wanted to put that out there and mean to backtrack a little bit, but.
No, perfect timing.
So nothing shocking here. We've done this contract since I've started. I think it was done prior to that as well. The only thing that's really updated is the dates that we will be on the lake, and the financial costs. We adjust for the cost of living and the raises and so forth that are in place. So we try to get on there a few times prior to their 4th of July event and then after. And it's always been a good interaction with Lake Isabella, and they seem to appreciate it and always want to come back and contract again.
Can we get Lake Isabella to, get us another deputy?
So, I know you guys are aware, but Lake Isabella did contract with us for some extra coverage and stuff. That's been working out very well. I've talked to Tim Wolf, and it seems like they've got a real good feel from their community and their board, and have enjoyed the time there. It's not a extremely busy, but a few traffic stops here and there and slowing some speeders down, and that extra little bit, it seems to be going very well. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners?
I just have a comment on what you started your presentation with. You mentioned training, and I don't think there's any board member up here that didn't see what happened down in Uvalde and some of the decisions that are made. I got to thank you and law enforcement, EMS, first responders, everybody that is willing to go into a situation like that. I can speak for myself. I'm not a first responder. I'm not a sheriff. I'm not trained in law enforcement. And that's a difficult decision one has to make. And to sit there and look at a situation like that, when you mentioned training, I think it comes down to training, and you've got to put it past yourself to go beyond for lack of a better term, the human emotion of it, and put yourself and run towards gunfire. And I think that takes a special person, Sheriff, and special persons out there to do that. And I compliment anybody that puts themselves in that situation. There's not words that can describe it, or my thankfulness for that. So thank you.
I appreciate that, and so do the law enforcement officers that, work in this community and any community. But, we teach, every school here is taught an ALICE concept, and it's basically like a hide, ride, run, fight type process. And, I've taught it multiple times. I'm an instructor. In fact, we just did a few schools here, and then they're already reaching out to us for their PD days, their professional development days in the fall to do their entire staff again. And one of the things we talk about is that mindset that you have to continually think about, do, practice, and because if you don't, when it comes time for the real thing, we won't be able to remember, do, or so forth. So the training is essential in this. It's why that muscle memory, that's why we do things that are crucial to us all the time in training, just because of that one time you may have to do it. It has to come back to us without a thought. And that's kind of the backbone of that. So.
Anything else? Any other commissioners? Questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move this forward to tonight's meeting.
Okay, next up, we have consider approving the salary step increase for Isabella County Sheriff's Deputy Chaprika. Okay.
Any
Been working-
practice
I've been-
this?
I practiced that too, to try to say that. And I still didn't get it quite right. From pay grade deputy start to pay grade deputy 1 year in the amount of $25.05 per hour effective immediately. Sheriff's office, like everybody else, is short staffed. There was a little bit of a communications breakdown on this, but it's not going to affect the budget. And to get somebody with some experience in that office when they're shorthanded is needed. So Sheriff, do you have anything more to say on that, or?
We had a communications failure and that lands on my desk and we've addressed that, and that won't happen again. During his interview and recruitment phase, there was some discussion that, he was making a little more at his current position where he was at, where he left. That never really got brought to my desk appropriately and clearly. So that falls on my shoulders. But being said, I'd like to do the right thing for this officer. He was a police officer in this county for a different agency for a few years. He comes to us knowing the roads, the infrastructure, the process, the radios, the communications, the courts. I mean, all that stuff is huge. But really, when he comes to you with, he's a U.S. Army Reserve MP, he's got an associate's degree. He's a firefighter 1 and 2 certified, which is huge when you're dark 30 hours in the middle of nowhere and you're the first responder on any call. CPR, he's data master. I mean, that going on. He worked as the emergency service operator, which is our SWAT team. So that's a ton of training as well. I don't think this employee is going to leave if it's not approved. I think he's found his home and he wants to be here. He's made that very clear, but to do the right thing for the employee, that's why I'm sitting here.
Seems like, Sheriff, every time I talk to you, you need to update me on your employment situation. So I know one time, it's been quite a while ago, you were fully staffed, but now that's not.
We went from 7 down out of the 14 deputies to 6. We had one come back from Family Medical Leave Act. We are close to getting another one off from a medical situation that had nothing to do with us, but he'll be back on. We do have 2 that are in training right now, but they can't be considered, they're 1-man unit with their FTOs. They can't be considered, part of the team yet as far as response. So when they come off, we'll be getting a little closer. I have another one that broke his ankle in a fight during an arrest on a retail fraud. He's off for 3 months. So yeah, when we start off with a good year and we're staffed and we lost 2 to 2 different agencies and another one to a different agency and a retirement and then a few that are off, and it doesn't take long. And when you got 14 deputies and you're off 7, that puts some strain on everything. So, but we're mustering it up. I can tell you that there's not many days that I don't go on calls. In fact, I was on a possible fight this morning. So that's just the way it goes. All hands on deck.
Just a comment, but this makes good sense to me. I mean, and we've done it for other departments with people that were highly qualified. If we need to bump them up a step when they come in to retain them, given the shortages that we have in your department and the difficulties filling those positions and the extensive experience and training that this individual has had. This makes good sense.
And he just reminded me, this is only one step up. We're not jumping 2 or 3, it's one step up, and it's not retroactive. It'll start immediately. So he's already, 3 months in, 4 months into his year, so it'd have been that next step anyways. But yeah, so we appreciate the consideration.
Okay, any more questions for the sheriff?
Just one last guy. I know that in this area, I mean, we have a lot of competition for deputies and officers, and retention is probably one of the most important for you. And I appreciate you coming in and doing this for your employees. And I just want to let you know that, I foresee that, we're going to need to probably move to, acquire more deputies and retain the ones we have, because there's competition in this area with many departments. We should probably have, a discussion on that as well, what we're going to do for the future. So I'm just saying we're here to support.
Appreciate that, Commissioner. That's exactly what happened. The board took some hard steps, and they gave us some very well-needed market value increases. The second that happened, our partnering agencies in this county used that as their step scales and bumped up, right? So it didn't take long to fall behind, that type of thing. So that's an important point to make. And one thing with the sheriff's office, we're turning over 300 incidents every 7 days, writing about 70 police reports every 7 days. We're taking 35 to 40 people to jail every, just not us, all the agencies. So it's extremely busy, and we don't have the resources that, for say, like the Mount Pleasant Police Department might have extra staff, not extra staff. They have additional people on their shifts. So every complaint you might be a backup car until your time comes up. So you might take 1 or 2. Every time our folks go out, they're pulling a number. I mean, they're doing the work, and that doesn't account the investigations and the backup follow-up and all that other stuff. So these folks that are wearing, I don't say brown anymore, we're kind of transitioned into some different gear, but they are working extremely hard every single day that they pin it on and go out and work. So appreciate that.
Questions for the sheriff? Seeing none, we'll move this forward to the business session. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Okay, last item up for the Criminal Justice Committee is consider approving the Howard and Smith Land Holdings LLC farmland agreement application, and instruct the Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. The board's always supported the farmland program, the 116 Farmland Preservation Program. Basically, we go through the application and make sure that everything's proper, and this application looked like everything was proper. So, any questions? Seeing none, we'll move this forward to tonight's business session. And that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first item is consider approving the contract with Resource Recycling Systems for the purpose of a feasibility study on the Isabella County Material Recovery Facility in the amount of $39,708 and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have Jay Borden here joining us to give us a background on this item. Could you do that, please, Mr. Borden?
Thank you, Commissioner Marino. I appreciate being able to bring this forward to you guys. We are at this time excited to the fact that we're actually going to be able to do a feasibility study on the facility. We released a feasibility study in March, on the 28th of March. The feasibility study closed on the 6th of May. We only ended up with one bidder out of that RFP, but the one bidder that we did receive is one of the foremost in the industry as far as recycling is concerned. Resource Recycling Systems is the company that met all the qualifications and give us a proposal on that. RRS, one of the most recent ones that they have done was Marquette County recycling program. The feasibility study itself, as you could see by the attached information, will be very extensive. RRS actually, I think, has got a lot of that work already done, or to a point, because of such similarities with so many other recycling facilities that they've done work with. So the ICMRF has worked, or we have asked the Saginaw Chippewa tribe to use 2% funding that was previously requested for the purchase of trucks. We were given that permission by them, and to be able to move that forward. So that will cover the cost of the funding for that. The funding costs on that is $39,708, which there was actually $100,000 in that line item from the Saginaw Chippewa tribe. They had indicated that they would get us a letter with that approval notice, but I had talked to them at our disbursement in this spring, and they had given us that here a couple of weeks ago. They had given us the verbal okay on that after having talking with tribal council, and they just hadn't gotten a letter to us. So it had been verbally approved. They got no issues with it. Eric Rodriguez said that they'll eventually get us a letter, but they would hope they would have had it before, but not able to get it to us before this meeting. So my recommendation is to enter into a contract with Resource Recycling Systems for the purchase of a feasibility study for Isabella County Material Recovery Facility at a cost of $39,708, and have the board chair sign the same. Any questions on this? If there is any questions, there's also
Jake, this is Commissioner Engler. Just saying that we've been waiting for the study anxiously. I said the struggles that we've had with the facility over the last couple of years, and ability to go forward, not just for the county, but for the region, is really well needed. So I know I am pretty excited about getting the study and moving forward and seeing what we can do. And actually, if you look what they did up in Marquette County, it's pretty impressive. So really looking forward to the study, and the company that it's got the bid, like you said, is one of the best ones to have. So plus with local ties, so they will do a good job for it. So just a comment.
Mr. Chair.
Jake, I just want to say, I want to thank you. You've been very proactive about wanting to look at how that facility operates and what we can do differently, and getting this feasibility study in place. And I think your relationship with the tribe and with CMU has helped us get to this point, and it will help us go wherever we need to go with that in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Jake, I think you should introduce the president of RRS. He's here in the room.
Yes.
Everyone should probably know that.
JD Landenberg, who is the president for RRS, is actually there in person. So if you did have any, formal questions or anything like that on the study itself, JD is there. If there was no questions, obviously you didn't need to come to the podium, but it was very nice. JD is actually a resident of the city of Mount Pleasant. So it's nice to know that the firm that did qualify and bid this is from the area as well. And he wants to be able to see that facility, the updates that could come to it, or, whatever direction it takes us. JD is anxious to be able to see that as well. So.
Okay, any more questions?
Just comment. I know JD, and we couldn't be in better hands. very reputable company, very reputable man. So thank you.
Okay, then that will be on tonight's agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Jake. Number 2, consider authorizing the pavilion project request from the Isabel County Commission on Aging in the estimated amount of $509,045 for the fiscal year 2022, and authorize the board chair to sign the budget amendment 2022-06.
Hello there. So prior to my coming to the Commission on Aging almost 5 years ago, the former director Brenda Upton had started this pavilion project. And I think it was about the first week that I came on board, the rendering was presented to us in a meeting, which was right there. If you have a chance to look at it. And then due to other things happening in the county, it was put on hold. And I would like to get this going and bring it back. It is, it would be an exciting feature to have here at the Commission on Aging. When the pandemic hit, we certainly knew had we had that, we would have been able to offer so much more to our community. When we couldn't bring people inside, we could have brought them here so much quicker, and a safe environment. All of the teams within the Commission on Aging are so excited for this, and they all have plans of things that they would do in the pavilion, concerts, picnics. It has a pickleball court built right in the pavilion. And that's become a really popular game in the community. We could host some pickleball events. The pavilion itself, it's about 31 by 80. It has, like I said, a pickleball court built right into it. It has restrooms, 2 restrooms, a storage facility, and it would be located right here southwest of our building, just south of the fitness equipment that takes place, or that's out there in the grassy area. It's beautiful. It's not a typical pavilion. It really matches our building. It's and it would just get so much use. We also have a couple groups in our community that have been asking about it for a couple years and really want to get involved and helping the Mount Pleasant Garden Club, Friends of Isabella Seniors. They would like to help beautify the area, and also possibly help fundraise to raise some more funds to help offset the costs of the pavilion. I did reach out in March. I reached out to JBS Contracting because there's one that they are the ones that did the rendering just for a quote. And they're the ones that gave the quote for $509,000. We do have just over 2.4 million in our unreserved fund balance. And then we also have right now just a little over $85,000 that we could use through the Mount Pleasant Community Foundation, and our funds that are sitting there that is spendable, that we could help offset the cost as well. But we're very excited about the opportunity to help to push this forward. And so I'm just coming to you today to request that permission to do so.
Any questions? Okay, this is a project that the further you put it off, the more expensive. So, it's for our elderly. It's a project that now that we have funding, we should step forward.
I guess, do you think they'll be able to break ground on it this year yet?
I would hope so. I mean, that's our goal. That's why I didn't want to wait and put it on next year's budget. I wanted to try and see if it's possible. So if we do get the approval, and then get the RFP going, or RFB, whichever it would be, get that going right away. And if it's possible, that would be great. That'd be great. We have a new walking club. It's on Tuesday, so I don't know if they were still out there when any of you came, but it's a partnership with CMU Physical Therapy. And we drag chairs. Marcy is dragging chairs out there every time because we don't have chairs. We don't have a shaded area for them to sit. And so that would just be another great use for the thing. We've been having, I think we had 16 people out there today doing the walking club, and not to mention everyone that we have that use our path. It would just be just an unbelievable space for them to relax and enjoy.
Hutchinson, just a couple questions. I know this, it looks like the rendering was done in 2017. Was there any cost estimates made at that time in 2017, what something like that would cost?
I don't have anything. I didn't have anything, any costs, anything in writing that I could find.
And I know just across the baseball diamonds, there's, I believe Union Township has a pavilion in place. Is this going to be similar to it? I know I see some pickleball locations. I know in their place, they have picnic tables and a cement floor. But it looks like there's bathrooms attached to that.
Yes,
and
we would have
everything.
restrooms right out there, right in the facility.
And I guess my only statement is that's not going to be obviously a year-round facility, is it? Or will that be?
No,
Okay.
it'll be seasonal for sure.
Now, is that something that a senior citizen, I don't like to use that term, but is that someone that they can make arrangements to rent or lease space or do something like that? Will there be advertising that's done there? How do you anticipate to use that?
I think our primary focus right now would be to use it for our programs and services that we provide. We do have groups though that utilize this facility, and I think that we would use that in the same way. So if we're able to allow nonprofit organizations in our community to use rooms here in our facility, I think we would do that same thing. We wouldn't rent it out for a personal, like a baby shower or something like that. I think we would stick with the same process that we are doing now for our facility here. But of course, those are things that, I mean, we don't have set in stone. Those are all things that we'll be talking about and planning for yet. That's just what I envision.
Thank you.
Maybe we could have our board meetings out there. Michelle, what do you think?
Commissioner Joseph.
I did have some concerns, and I was called by Jennifer, and we talked about them, and she wrote them down, and I'm not sure how seniors will use the program. I don't have that kind of experience, but I think she's got a good handle on what she wants to accomplish. I know that if you're going to use it for programs or picnics, you need to have tables in place and have some way to move those tables without scratching your pickleboard painted surface. Just one other thing that came up.
Yes. Yeah.
Other questions? Not seeing none, we'll move that forward to tonight's meeting.
Okay, our next item is consider authorizing parking lot repairs request from Isabella County Commission on Aging in the estimated amount of $24,999 for fiscal year 2022 and authorize the board chair to sign the budget amendment 2022-07.
So last fall, 2021, an RFP was put out for our project, the parking lot ceiling. And at the pre-bid meeting, Nicole and Steve and I sat out in the parking lot and waited, and not one vendor showed up. So the project didn't happen. And now with the change in our procurement policy, allowing us to just secure 3 bids, we're hopeful that by trying this again, we'll get some vendors who would be interested in coming out and doing this. Again, I didn't want to wait to put this in our 23 budget, only because we didn't want to go through another winter again with the size of the cracks that we do have in the parking lot right now. And we're hopeful that since we have the funding, if we could go ahead and get this project going, so we could get the parking lot fixed. And he's been working on that, helping us with this, and he says it's definitely in need. So.
Any questions or comments on this?
I know, just a comment. I know these parking lots, if you don't maintain them, they deteriorate very quickly.
Yes.
Anybody else? Seeing and hearing none, we'll put this on our agenda for tonight and move forward on it. Thank you, Jennifer. That concludes the work of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks, Jennifer. That brings us down. We have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrative controller issues, no unfinished business. Under new business, we have Michigan State Court Administrative Office memorandum regarding Juneteenth discussion. And Administrator Frost, do you want to lead us off with that item?
Sure, I certainly will. So most recently, we were contacted by trial court to trial court let us know that the Michigan Supreme Court had very abruptly gave an order, I believe on June 1st, that the Juneteenth holiday would be observed by court employees on, I believe, Monday, June 20th. And subsequent to that, I think Cole Stoker and Toski had sent out a client update. I have copies of that here with me if you guys need that, but I did email that all out to the commissioners, and basically that pointed out the options that the board had for action regarding Juneteenth. Chairman Hope was gracious enough to put this on the agenda for tonight because it didn't come in time to make the committee structure, of course, and all that, but knew that discussion should happen before the holiday is observed. After that, we were contacted by the courts again, who presented a letter of understanding. I do have copies that I'll pass out to you on this, but it's an agreement, a letter of understanding between trial court and the GELC, which is the Government Employees Labor Council, right? Our trial court employees belong to that labor union. And it's referencing the Michigan Supreme Court order on June 1st and adding June 19th as a holiday observed, of course, on the 20th. That holiday be observed by all state courts, including our trial court. And this was signed by the GELC and Chief Judge Eric James, and our counsel, our legal counsel, states that the LOU, the letter of understanding, is very concise, compliant with law. She says the law does not require that the board chair sign the LOU, but the gesture is appropriate and respectful. That's from our legal counsel. As we know, our relationship with the courts is solid, and this was not something certainly our courts brought forward, right? It very abruptly happened to all the courts across the state. And our legal counsel advises that the board should move to accept the LOU as submitted by the chief judge and direct the chair to sign. So if you are to do that, we will need to maybe amend the motion on your regular meeting agenda tonight, but because this was brought forward from the collective bargaining unit, you do have the option to go into closed session to discuss this if you would choose. You have that option. Generally, you have gone into closed session to consider anything from a bargaining agreement, or I'm sorry, a bargaining unit. But that's, it's not, you don't have to. That's this board's choice, right? Someone can make a motion to go into closed session if you want to have the conversation in closed session. So I think at that, I should probably pass out the client update. So we all have that maybe in front of us. Probably be best. The options.
Yeah.
That is not labeled any type of attorney-client privilege. It just says important client update. So I'm assuming that we're not letting anything go as far as attorney-client privilege go.
Correct.
Okay.
We didn't specifically ask for this.
Okay.
It's part of the summary.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
So my question is, are all of the trial court employees covered by a GELC? No. We have
No, sir.
some non-represented employees at the trial court as well.
That is correct.
But the Supreme Court is saying this is a holiday, the court will be closed.
That is correct. That is correct. And I will point out, I'm sure that you recognize trial court administrator Carrie Curtis is in the audience. So I just want to make sure that you know that she's more than willing to speak to this, I think, and more than willing to sit back and listen to this as well. But she, I think, more than anything, wants to relay how this happened to them. You know, she doesn't appreciate the late hourness of this either. So, but here it is. Here it is. So my understanding also update that we were provided. Sure, all employees who are members of a bargaining unit where the court is the employer receive the holiday observed. That essentially you have to determine if you're going to offer the holiday as a one-time, this is it, we're allowing this holiday to the courts, which are GELC members and some non-union employees. So you would be treating, I think maybe to your question, Mr. Chairman, part of the non-represented group, you would be treating differently than the rest of the non-represented group if you so chose to apply this only to the GELC and non-represented employees of the trial court. You can try to negotiate with the union to substitute Juneteenth for a different holiday. Or you can certainly offer Juneteenth as an additional holiday to all groups. Obviously, that would require letters of understanding, not just with this union, but the other 5 collective bargaining units that we have in the county. Remain open even though the courts are closed. Obviously, that's treating, certain groups differently, but obviously some of our departments have worked closely with the courts, public defender's office, prosecuting attorney's office. They're probably going to have a pretty slow day if there's no court. But certainly, they're not court employees, but certainly their work is ancillary to the courts. They'll be impacted by it.
In the Supreme Court order, are they saying that Juneteenth 2022 will be a holiday, or every Juneteenth in 2022 and beyond?
I believe they're saying 22 and beyond. It is now added as a holiday, June 19th. Yes,
Okay.
and it further says, I thought in that order, maybe in the client update. So it's one of those, if it falls on a Sunday, which it does this year, it's observed on the Monday. If it falls on a Saturday, it's observed on a Friday. So I think it is every year.
It could be either Friday. If it was on the weekend, it could be Friday or Friday or Monday. So that observation is up to us if it's on the weekend.
Oh, gotcha.
My understanding is this applies just to the courts and not to counties. I believe our legislature has recognized Juneteenth already. That's my understanding, but not recognized as an official day off. It's just as a recognition. Is that my correct understanding on that?
I believe it's presumed to be a paid day off, if that's what you're asking. And that's like what the LOU says.
No, away
to the
from
paid day.
the court system. This is the Michigan Supreme Court dictating to the courts of the state of Michigan
Yes.
to be closed. But this is not dictating to private sector or public sector other than the courts.
Oh, correct. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. Absolutely correct.
As my understanding is our legislature has already got something in place recognizing this day, but not recognized as a day. It's more of a day of observation, not a day of taking time off and doing things like that. At least that's my understanding of it. So the legislature has made notice or recognized this, the importance of this date, but not mandated that it be a day off. Correct?
Correct. Only for the Supreme Court has only done that for the courts.
Okay.
Mr. Jazinski.
What bothers me about it is I know the court made the decision for the court employees, but we treat our own employees like the haves and the haves not. You know, and I think maybe we don't do anything about it this time, but maybe we need to take a look at our paid holidays when we adopt that next year and do something that's equal for all the employees so that we don't, you know, because the non-represented employees and the non-court employees, I can tell you right now, they're paying attention and they're feeling, you know, this is probably not real fair. And that's where I'm coming from. I don't think it's fair. I think there's another holiday too that the courts get off that nobody else gets off, and that's Martin Luther King Day. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Our trial court, is that correct?
So this would be the only one then. All the other holidays are shared equally between represented and non-represented.
And court employees and other county employees. Other departments, right?
So my point is, if we're going to do it, we need to take a look at being fair to all employees and not treat people differently.
I appreciate that, and I think what you have to consider is that for some departments, it's a holiday, but you still have to work people, and then that means time and a half, and there's extra costs there, especially the departments that have more employees, corrections in the sheriff's department. Then the MRF, I think, is a department that would have to have people working. And then you have extra costs in paying time and a half, and can those departments absorb that extra cost? I think is something you'd have to look at there.
Some of those other departments are union represented and probably will be on the table for negotiation this next contract.
Probably. I'm not saying I'm against that idea. I'm just saying that's a consideration. Commissioner Marino.
Just saying, I'm just thinking that, given the abruptness of this, you know, and also what you just said, I would say, and also what Commissioner Horton said about our legislature already recognizing the holiday, I would recommend that we just remain open, though the courts are closed at this time, and then have more time to, you know, delve into this and all the possibilities and implications. But given the fact that it's so soon, that's what I would go for.
I would agree with Commissioner Moreno on this. Again, given the lateness of this, given, again, not going into any of the reasoning or the of the holiday, Juneteenth, not with that. It's, I mean, this is June. Okay. And it's not something that hasn't been known. I think all of us are aware of Juneteenth, okay, what it is and the significance of it. And again, if it is, Commissioner Jelezinski recognized the labor aspect or the union aspect of it. There are paid holidays off that the public sector doesn't necessarily achieve in our agreements, one being the day after Thanksgiving. There's a lot of people in the public sector works the day after Thanksgiving. In my former field, you work Christmas, New Year's, and holidays, okay? And in the medical field, you work Christmas, New Year's, and holidays. It's just the way it is. And again, not going into the importance of that date, but recognizing the fact that this latent time frame, I feel as a commissioner, I'm not thinking any less of this, but I think it's too late in the time frame to try to warrant for days off for the entire group of employees. And to look at this down the road in contract negotiations. And if this is a day that wants to be incorporated as a day off, there are other days possibly that could be traded out. I mean, if you're looking, but I would not add a day, an extra day. I think that would send the wrong message to the public sector and our taxpayers. So that's my opinion for as we sit here today. So.
Commissioner Engler.
Yeah, I think we've had pretty good working relations with our unions and everything else. And I think a quick decision sometimes could it do more harm than a decision that we take time and understand where all our partners are on this. So I kind of agree that maybe because of the timing of it, instead of making a quick decision that might actually do more harm than good, to take time and figure out what everybody wants and then figure out how we're going to do that. Like I said, because it is a fairness issue for everybody. So
And I wasn't advocating that we make that decision today. I'm just saying, when that time comes up, we may want to consider it.
Just, yeah, Commissioner Engler.
what is the time limit that is there something we have to do?
If,
Yeah, it's coming.
yeah, June's here.
We have to do it.
So, and that's why this was added to the agenda tonight, was because the observance of it will happen prior to your next full board meeting. These are the observance of the holiday. So action of the board at a minimum, when we were preparing the agendas before the letter of understanding came from the Governmental Employees Labor Council, basically at a minimum, we said, well, on the regular meeting agenda, we need to have the board approve the holiday for the GELC members and the non-represented employees at the court so that they can comply with the order. They have to comply. They don't have a choice in the matter. The choice is yours as it's spelled out in the options from Cole Stoker and Toski about what you can do in addition to that. So really that's at a minimum, that's the action you should be looking to take tonight. I will say, I did ask Accountant Melissa Franquist to kind of help me understand, put together some numbers of what this might cost, as Chairman Hope was talking about, when this triggers for other units that work on holiday, for our dispatchers, for our law enforcement, for our corrections, for our drivers at the MRF who work on holidays. It's the only time this would trigger an increase in the budget, right? Because if you think about court employees, either the budget has paid, we have figured to pay them regular hours, now we'll pay them holiday hours. So budget wise, it's not different. Someone might accrue more PTO, but we're not changing those payouts. So budget wise, it really has no impact as far as the courts are concerned. It's when you get into those other groups that trigger, working on a holiday triggers extra pay, right? All told to the general fund, that would be under $5,000 for is what the accountant came up with. Just under 5,000 for general fund. That would be the cost, if you will, of granting that holiday.
If I can just supplement that though, that's the cost of adding, but that's not the cost of not being open. There's a significant cost to not offering public services during that time frame. And I think that just when we say $5,000 additional cost, to me, that's not a correct number. I think you have to factor in the fact that people are going to be out, especially this day, it's going to be a Monday. And it's going to, Mondays are notoriously a busy day. So, if you, let's say the whole county was off, you're looking at a loss of county services for one day. What does that do to public morale when they want to come in and register a deed, or they want to come in and seek a concealed pistol license or do something like that, get a photo for a passport? They're put off a day. And again, I think there's more to the cost than just $5,000. I think if you look at that, I think it's the cost of the daily wage. And so what is the cost of a county's daily cost of their wages for one day? I think that has to be strongly factored in, and maybe discount that a little bit, not just to say it's just a $5,000 cost. I would have a strong opinion as that is not a correct number. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Sure. I appreciate that. And I think Court Administrator Curtis could probably tell you there's costs and stress involved with clearing a docket within 3 weeks' time. Yeah, to your point, Vice Chairman, there's definitely other consequences.
I'd like some clarification. So the LAO for tonight that we'd be signing, I guess my understanding was that that would be just the GLC covered employees. Now so the court employees not covered on that. Can we have Carrie Curtis speak to maybe give her opinion on the value of the holiday to those employees, or not extend, or, you know, chair? Yeah, I'm waiting for the chair to.
Yeah, Carrie.
Here we go.
Come on up. Okay.
So it doesn't matter as far as being closed, that the court is basically ordered to be closed. So whether they're GELC employees or they're non-represented employees, the employees are not allowed to work. That's what it comes down to. So the 54, whatever number of employees that we have that are court employees, the court has to be closed on that date. So the GELC agreement we brought to you for consideration was because of the bargaining unit agreement has specific holidays listed in there. And we wanted to be considerate of the board and bring that to you and let you know that we needed to add this other one so we could be in compliance with the Supreme Court.
So Carrie, this adds that holiday as a paid holiday for GELC represented
Correct.
folks. Okay. So if we wanted this to apply to all court employees, and we want to make sure we word our motion correctly so that all the trial court employees get the paid holiday. Otherwise, those non-represented employees just get a day off.
Well, I don't know what your counsel's legal suggestion to you was in that regard. I can tell you that we've been advised that the counties are required to pay even the non-represented employees. That's the most that I can tell you.
And
about
I
that.
believe our legal counsel's response is consistent with that. Because of her
Okay.
saying it's concise and applicable with all law, and, you know, she did, the paid part wasn't lost on our legal counsel.
Okay. And I think we should. I just want to make sure we do the motion correctly to do that, if that's what this board decides to do.
I'll mention that we did ask if it had to start this year because of the, I'll call it untimeliness of the order coming down to us.
Mhm.
And we were told it was not optional that it started this year. So it had to start now.
Mr. Jelezinski.
I think legal counsel gave the option of maybe doing it for this year. And maybe that's a strategy to give us time to think about a long-term solution to this, because it does cost to the taxpayer a lack of opportunity to come in and get service. So maybe there are some other things that we could do for making a final decision.
I think the legal counsel, the one-time offer, I think were to the other unions in the, I don't think that offering it one time to GELC and non-court is an option, because I do feel the Supreme Court action was to do it every year, you know, to do it every year. So I think the one time is for, you know, an offer to the other groups, your dispatchers group, your command officers, your corrections, your deputies.
Never mind.
That's my interpretation, though. I'm happy to.
I would agree with you, Nicole. I would think that in reading this, it even states that it's not directed, their recommendation is, those three recommendations are to county employees, not, when I say county employees, non-court employees. So again, going back to everything, we're just doing a letter of understanding with the union, but making sure, according to Gary Curtis, that all court employees are going to be paid for that day, just not this, but this recognizes the fact that there's a contract out there with a bargaining unit. And because there's a contract, you got to have this letter of understanding just to cover everything, even though if that, it'd be covered anyway, just part of crossing the i's or crossing the t's and dotting the i's. So I think from my standpoint, this is something that, I would suggest that the county remains open, even though the courts are closed this time. And then we look at this down the road next year, collective bargaining and or a board. I can say that the board, I won't be making that decision. Well, possibly if it's a budget item, maybe I would be, but I think that, days off, people are entitled to certain days off. There's no issue with that. It's just how many there is there. And when is enough, there's going to be other important, very important holidays to very important days to other people in our society, and not belittling, not disrespecting anything like that. In fact, just the opposite, honoring that. But there are different ways to honoring that than giving days off with pay. So I guess that's where I'm coming from it. But saying let's negotiate that. But this year, just remain open and accept the fact that court schedules, I don't envy Gary Curtis at all, having to adjust judges' schedules, and hopefully it doesn't affect me at all, but that's okay.
Nothing against the holiday. I want to, or the celebration of Juneteenth. I think everyone is on the same page that it's a very important recognition. I think the biggest problem, at least for us, was the timeliness of it. I mean, we have 4 judges, 2 referees and a magistrate, and everyone had full dockets. And then again, we have very little time to give the public notice that we're not going to be able to serve you that day. So, those are the biggest challenges, for us, because the funding washes out as far as on our end. But so we feel that struggle too. So.
Any other discussion? I think we're all clear on what it means. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll have to consider that this evening. And that brings us to general public comments. Is there anyone for general public comment?
Good evening, commissioners. I just wanted to let you know, that I'm Connie Lee Bills from Union Township. I'm the Union Township liaison to the commission. And I just wanted to bring one thing to your attention, because I didn't, and forgive me if I'm duplicating what you already know. But we have instructed our planning commission in Union Township to develop a parks master plan. So we're really excited about that. We had never had one before, and that'll hopefully open up our ability to get a budget for that, and a better budget, and which I'm a proponent of, and then get more parks. And we also wanted them to include a trailhead at the end of the Shepherd Trail over at Deerfield and Old Mission there. So we can try to get a trailhead there for the bike path and parking. And I think that would be really cool. And that's all I wanted to bring to your attention. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? And if you're watching online, this would be the time to press *9 if you wish to comment, general public comment. And we have no one there. Okay, so we will move on to announcements. Commissioners, any announcements? I just have one, I'll say that I was able to attend the 2% distribution. And the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe generously gave out a little over $2.3 million to local units of government in school districts, including some very critical and very interesting projects here in Isabella County. Isabella County was a big recipient of some of those dollars for some very important projects that we're doing, some of which we talked about tonight. The panic buttons in the schools and the MRF feasibility study. And so it was nice to go there. I was caught off guard a little bit. I didn't know I was going to have to make a speech. I went last year and they had COVID protocols, so we didn't have a big ceremony. So this year I went first, and then I made the sheriff and the other folks that came go up with me. But we made it through, and we thank the entire tribe and the council and Chief Jackson for their generosity. And it was nice to hear person after person from all these local units of government talk about the projects and how important they were. So it was a nice opportunity. And I just wanted to thank the tribe for making that possible. So any other announcements? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Support Joe Lozinski.
Supported, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 5:50 PM.
Isn't it good?
Oh.
About that little girl that was Miss Elton John. My granddaughter.